I'm just going to go ahead and ask this one more time. Can you guys see my screen and hear my voice? If you do, can you please answer yes in the questions box? If not, I will continue on and assume that you guys can hear and see me. Awesome, there we go. That's what I was waiting for. That is great. All right, guys, so my name is Elvin Lopez. I am the technical writer for Universal Remote Control, and I am joined today by JR, Jeff Rogers, who is also a member of the training team. JR, if you can hear us, can you please say hello to everyone?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us.
So JR will be answering questions in the questions dialog box, so please, as we go on with the class, feel free to enter any questions into the box. So I will let you guys know ahead of time that this webinar is not a full hour. It's somewhere around 45 to 50 minutes, and we're just going to be going over new products and new features that are going to be included into Total Control come this year, 2017. Now, some of these products and features have already been released publicly, so some of the stuff may be something that you already know about, but the information that we will be providing you with today will at least reinforce what you already do know. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started on the presentation here. So what's hot, what's new, 2017? The first item in our agenda is the TKP 7600. So this in-wall keypad, it's powered over PoE. It's a 7-inch graphic display, and it uses the GT series interface, which allows you to use all the swipe and flick gestures. So this here isn't necessarily a new product. This is something that's been out for a few months. It's still new-ish, as I like to call it. So it's still worth and relevant to mention here in today's class. This is also one of our most popular in-wall keypads and one of our most popular controllers for Total Control. And next to the TRC 1080, I would say it's next to the most popular product for Total Control. The other thing that makes this product very important is it's one of our first Total Control products that has the intercom feature built into it. So intercom, what that allows it to do is it allows it to communicate over the network, over the home network, to communicate to any other TKP 7600 that's in that house or connected to that network within the project. And with that, you can do audio calls, you can do audio video calls, you can do audio broadcasts or baby monitoring. So it gives you a lot of leeway in terms of things that you can do with this intercom feature. And the other big feature about intercom is the fact that when the TDC 7100 is officially released publicly, the TKP 7600 will actually be able to communicate with it. These will be our first two URC devices with the intercom capability, and once they're both available publicly, they'll be able to communicate with each other within the network. So currently, only the 7600 is available publicly, but the 7100 will be coming out very shortly. But the key thing to take away from this here is that the 7600 will be able to communicate with the 7100 upon its release. And upon future releases, these two devices will be able to communicate with any other intercom-enabled URC interface. And just I kind of jumped the gun a little early here, but the price for the TKP 7600 is $849 retail. Now keep in mind, we do offer lots of various discounts at our live training, so if you do get a chance to visit a live training in your area, you can go ahead and maybe take advantage of some discounts that our trainers will go ahead and hand out. And for more information on live trainings and other training events, I will show you the URC University towards the end of the course. I'll show you a couple things that you can find on there, such as some of JR's e-learnings. He actually has quite a few of those on there that will go over every product that we're going to mention today, as well as the modules that we will be mentioning today as well. So you guys have heard me talk about this for a couple minutes now, so let's go ahead and take a look a little bit at the TDC 7100. So this is URC's first tabletop controller, and what this is designed to do is to sit on a table, on a desk, or really anywhere that your customer may want to put it, and they can just go ahead, pick this up, walk around the house, and control their home. Now, you may wonder what's the difference between this and having something like an iPad or an Android tablet, which tends to happen a lot when you go into a job site. And the reason that this device has been made is because it is a device that is specifically for control. iPads and other tablets are designed to do a whole lot of different things, and you can use them for control, but those devices can actually go outside of the home, and there goes your controller. Whereas the TDC 7100, it stays in the home, and it is designed specifically for controlling the total control system. So with that, it also has the GT series interface. It's also a 7-inch graphic display, And this is also going to have the intercom features similar to the 7600, so you can do audio calls, audio video calls, audio broadcasts, and baby monitoring. So you're going to enjoy all the same great features of the 7600 all on this nifty little device here. Now this will communicate over Wi-Fi, so there is no Ethernet port on this device. So unlike the 7600, there's no PoE and there is no physical Ethernet hardwired connection. This is all going to be set up over Wi-Fi. And you can set up the Wi-Fi from the device itself. Once you get it started, you go into the settings menu and you can go ahead and get all of that good stuff started. The other cool thing about this is the tabletop inductive charging dock. So if you can look on the image on the right, well, the only image on the slide, you can see that underneath the actual physical remote is this black rectangular charging dock, which uses inductive technology. So if you've ever charged like an Android phone that uses inductive charging, you just sit it on the plate. There's no need to connect any pins. There's no need to plug in any cables. You just sit it down there and let it charge. Obviously, the charging dock does get connected to the power source because it needs to get electricity from somewhere. So this is going to be a very important product that we're releasing, and we are releasing this at an aggressive price point because we want this to really be in every Total Control customer's home. And again, this will be able to communicate with the TKP 7600 when it is released, well, when the 7100 is released, I mean, and as well as communicating with that, it will be able to communicate with any future URC product with intercom capability. So those are the two primary controllers, one that is out already and one that will be out soon. So let's go ahead and take a look at something a little bit different. And by that, I mean the MRX4SEN2. So most Total Control people are familiar with the MRX4SEN, which the 4SEN was just a sensor extender. The MRX10 does have sensor ports built into the back of it. What this does is it gives you an additional 4 sensor ports. And in reference to this, I mean the original 4SEN. But what the original 4SEN had was RF communication, so it communicated to the base station over 2.4 gigahertz RF. And the problem with that was that once we started creating new base stations such as the MRX8, which does not have an RF antenna built into it, people needed to buy the TRF UZ1, which was an additional accessory to purchase to go ahead and communicate. And if anybody who's ever worked with RF knows that it is very rarely consistent. It can be consistent, but the problem is that the bandwidth can always get interfered with and it can always mess up. So what our engineers decided to do was finally make a 4SEN that was actually Wi-Fi compatible, that actually uses Wi-Fi. So the 4SEN2 communicates solely by Wi-Fi. Now this is going to communicate similarly as the 4IR, which means that you need to have an initial hardwired connection to send the Wi-Fi data over to the device itself. But once you do that, you can go ahead and put this anywhere. It gives you a little leeway when it comes to placing this this sensor extender in the customer's home, and it is compatible with all the current URC sensors. So from the audio to the contact closure, the video, the voltage, it can do it all. So for this one, unfortunately, we do not have a price point. So unfortunately, I know nothing. So unfortunately, some of the products that we're going to be mentioning today, they're still in the developmental pipeline, so we don't have the pricing for all of them, which is why my good friend John Snow is over there in the corner. But we're going to go ahead and still talk about the features and the things that those products can and will do. And should anything change, you can always check the URC control room for updates and press releases with containing information as to what products we're coming out with, or with what form of two-way modules we're coming out with. So now we're going to take a look at the DMS-in. This was actually showed off at CEDIA in 2016, and it got pretty good reception. JR was actually at CEDIA, so he had some pretty good feedback for the DMS-in. So key things to remember about the DMS-in: it has 2 available inputs, one analog and one digital. You cannot use them both simultaneously. You have to pick one or the other. And what this device does is it converts any input into a DMS stream. So let's say I just had a regular old Y cable with a 3.5 head jack, and I have my iPhone 7 that doesn't have one, so I have to use that funky little adapter to connect it. But if I wanted to do that, I can go ahead and add my phone to that DMS stream. So that's something that's pretty cool. These things function similar to all of our other DMS products. The only difference between the DMS-in and our other DMS products is that at the time of release, whenever this does get released, it will not be able to support room linking. Now, this is something that the training team has discussed in extensive detail with the engineers to try to get this in there. However, it is outside of our hands to get this added in there. Unfortunately, we do not engineer the products. We just train people on how to use them. So we're hoping that we can break through some ground there and that we can get room linking into the DMS in, but at the time of release it most likely will not have that, and it will just be something that that we'll have to work with, but it could be a feature that is added later on via update, which that's the brilliant thing about all of our products. Features can always come out via update, and nothing is always ever just completely set in stone. There can always be something new added to an existing product. So the other thing that's pretty nifty about this device is that you can either charge it via the 12-volt power supply that's included in the box, or you can power it over PoE, giving you a little flexibility in terms of installation and location of where you may want to put this device. So the DMS in sister, also known as the DMS out, it's got one analog output and one digital output. Again, you can only use one at a time. You can't use them both. We can't get greedy. What this device is designed to do is it'll convert any original third-party amplifier AVR and turn it into a DMS device, which adds it to the DMS stream. So this is a pretty cool device. If your customer has a Yamaha or a Denon AVR that they want to go ahead and get a feature out of and put it into the DMS stream, this is going to be the device that you want to do it with. So this one, it's also got the same capabilities as the DMS in terms of power, so you can either use the 12-volt supplied adapter or you can use it over PoE. DMS out is a pretty cool little product, and both the DMS in and out have been of high request to URC. We've got people on the forums asking when these are coming out. I wish I could have a concrete date for you guys, but I believe it's supposed to come out sometime in March, either that or early April. But none of these are concrete answers. So again, I would just recommend that you guys constantly remain vigilant on the URC control room. Check out for press releases. We're always trying to get our information out there as quickly as possible. And for both of these, we don't have a price point. We don't have a settled price, although rumor mill was somewhere between $250 and $300, somewhere around that range. However, don't quote me on that. That could very well change, or I could just very well be wrong in terms of the price. But in terms of features and what these two devices can do, I've put it out there for you guys, and when it's released, you guys can go ahead and take a bigger look at these. And I do believe that JR does have e-learnings on both of these devices available on the URC University. So
yep,
towards the end of the class,
they're up there.
So great. So they are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And no, the DMS ins or out, they are not Wi-Fi compatible. They need to be powered in over Ethernet. Well, not powered in over. They need to be connected hardwired to the network. So this is a feature that isn't a hardware feature. This is a software feature, and it's going to be free to all Total Control users. So this is going to come via an update to Accelerator, and once it's updated in Accelerator, you can go ahead and start using these. So we do have a class that's going to cover specifically the next 3 features. So these slides won't be going into too much detail on them. But the first thing that we're going to talk about is push notifications, and this feature is available on all iOS and Android URC mobile devices, so it doesn't matter which platform you're using. As long as you can download URC mobile, you'll be able to do this. And what it does, it provides you with 3 different types of notifications. So you can get an alert view, banner view, or lock screen view, and you'll be able to program up to 1 to 2 action commands. And what these action commands are is that they're macros that you can set up in Accelerator, and you can set up a push notification to any macro within Accelerator. So one way that you can use this is if your customer has kids that like to watch TV at night, and you set up a notification for a macro that turns on their TV and cable box in their bedroom. This notification gets pushed up to their parents, and they can go ahead and have a push command that turns everything off in that room. And it's a little mean, but it is a pretty cool way to keep track of things that are going on in the house. And that's just one scenario that I just came up with right now that I've actually heard JR use over and over again before. There is an e-learning specifically on push notifications that JR created, and I'd highly suggest you guys take a look at that. He goes over multiple different types of scenarios and other instances where you may want to use push notifications, and he provides with some ideas as to how to utilize action commands to the best of their capability. The other thing that we've got coming out along with push notifications is geofencing. Geofencing allows you to trigger a macro depending on the smart device's location. So what this feature does is it utilizes the GPS chip that's in your URC mobile device, whether it be an iPhone or an Android phone, and it tracks where you're going, and you can set up two parameters. You can, well, one of two parameters. You can set up a leaving or arriving parameter. So what this means is when your URC mobile device has arrived at a particular location, it can trigger a macro, or when your URC mobile device leaves a certain location, it can trigger a macro. Now, your customer can go ahead and set and change the physical location. Essentially, you do the programming of what macro they want. They go ahead and pick out where they want the location to be, or you can help them do it. In our training course where we specifically go over all these features, I show you how to do that. And you can also use multiple locations that are not just your home. So, you know, if your customer passes by a supermarket or a bar or whatever the case may be, you can go ahead and set that up. And something that's pretty cool to do is actually combining features, so combining push notifications with geofencing. That's really a best case scenario. So if your customer is passing by a supermarket, you can get a push notification that says, hey, are you going home? If so, you can set up an action command that says home mode or away mode. Away mode could just keep everything off in the house, keep the door locks still armed and locked, whereas go home can go ahead and turn on the TV, adjust the thermostat or something like that. Just some ideas that I'm just spitballing for you guys. Again, the e-learning on this goes into more specifics and gives you more detailed and more real-life scenario examples as to how you would go ahead and want to set this up and how to best utilize this feature. Now, something that I do want to mention is that for either geofencing, push notifications, or NFC, you do need to have off-site control enabled. So just something that you definitely need to know before wanting to use any of these features. The next feature to mention is the NFC. So NFC stands for near field communication. And this works using an Android device and NFC tags, which NFC tags are inexpensive little markers. They almost look like stickers from an EKG machine. And essentially what you do is you can go ahead and just tap your Android device to that NFC tag and pair up a macro. And you can do some pretty cool things with that. You know, you can have a NFC tag on top of a nightstand or on a kitchen table, and as soon as you tap your phone on there, it turns on all the lights in the kitchen, or on a night table, it turns off all the lights, turns off the TV, turns everything off as a kind of like a good night macro. And setting it up is really easy. You know, you go into the NFC settings of your Android device, and you can go ahead and select the macro you want to pair with the NFC tag. And again, we do go over this in extensive detail on our course for push notifications, geofencing, and NFC. So right here is just a brief description of what this stuff does. But it's very powerful with the things that you can do, and it gives you a lot of creative ideas as to how you can really make someone's home a very, very, very smart home. And JR, again, he does have the e-learnings for NFC available on the URC University, so highly recommend you guys take those. These aren't set to release till sometime in March, so again, stay tuned on the URC control room for any type of press release. So just keep following us along, and hopefully, you know, this stuff can come out earlier than any expected dates that the engineers may have. So now we're going to talk about two modules that actually were released this week. They were released on Valentine's Day. So the first one is the Alexa module, the Amazon Alexa module, and this module is compatible with all Alexa-enabled devices. So currently that's the Echo Dot, Tap, and the Echo, and it's going to be compatible with any future device that Amazon releases that has Alexa built into it. Now the way that this works is that it uses a voice command to trigger any macro created in Accelerator. So essentially your customer's voice becomes the button press. And some examples of that are Alexa, turn on living room, Alexa, turn off the bedroom, Alexa, turn off the living room. Now we do have a class that is specifically about a full hour on just Amazon Alexa and how to set this up and all the other intricacies that are involved with the Alexa module. So briefly, we're going to just talk about a few things that you need to keep in mind with this, and that's that, you know, you can use one Alexa module for multiple Alexa devices in a system. So you could have 80 Alexa Echoes and just one module. That's all you need. You don't need to add anything other than that. And the other thing to keep in mind is that Amazon has set very, very strict guidelines as to how URC can integrate with Alexa. So as you can see in the command structures of the examples I gave, we use the phrases turn on and turn off. Now those are the only two commands that Amazon allowed us to use, and the reason for that is that the Amazon software that's built into these devices has a prioritized list of commands, and that prioritized list searches for Amazon services first, and then it goes through other services that are in its hierarchy. So wherever URC falls in that predetermined hierarchy is how Alexa responds to those commands. So for example, if you were trying to say, Alexa, play Master of Puppets by Metallica, it wouldn't search your S&P, it wouldn't search any specific device that you have in the system. What it would do instead is search through Amazon Music, because that is a service that Amazon provides, and at the end of the day this is an Amazon device. So just some things to keep in mind. Now don't think that just because it's turn on or turn off that you can't get creative with these commands, because you can. You know, just because you're saying Alexa turn on living room doesn't mean you can't incorporate something else into that. And you can incorporate lots of things into this turn on and turn off command. And to kind of get yourself jump started with that, I highly recommend you guys take a look at the Alexa e-learning that JR has on the URC University, as well as the integration guide that I wrote that is also available on the URC University and the URC Control Room. So just some things to keep in mind in regards to Alexa. And if you guys have already gotten a chance to use this, I hope you guys like it. Otherwise, please contact URC either via tech support or training@universalremote.com and pass on any feedback. You know, if you guys want improvements to these modules, we need the feedback. You know, we can't just go based off what we think is going to work when you guys are the ones that are out there installing and using these products. The other module we've got is Doorbird. So Doorbird was also released along with Alexa, and what Doorbird is, it's an IP-controlled station that provides full two-way video and audio feedback. So it's a doorbell-activated module, so essentially the module can be activated once there's someone at the actual Doorbird station and presses the little blue button. The little blue button will go ahead and communicate over the network and send a response or a notification to your either TKP 7600 or TDC 7100. And keep in mind that the Doorbird module is only supported by those two devices at its current state. It can only work with either the TKP 7600 or the TDC 7100 when that releases. And the reason for that is because those two devices have the intercom capability built into it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to use this module. So a couple things that you can do with this, you know, you can go ahead and receive a call directly from this intercom. You can also, there is a 12-volt relay on these actual Doorbird devices, and you can integrate that with certain locks so that you can actually unlock it directly from the module. So just some cool things that you can do with this module. You know, you can, not only can you view who's at the front door and speak to them and communicate to them, but you can also unlock the door if you have the appropriate product for that.
I just wanted to give you a heads up, Elvin. It looks like we have a few questions.
Okay, so we've got one from Kevin who asks, with Alexa, can we adjust volumes up, down, mute, and audio sources? So like I said, you can only use the turn off and turn off commands, so unfortunately no. When you use like volume up or volume down, Amazon's prioritized list of commands thinks that you're trying to ask Alexa to raise the speaker volume on the device itself, so Alexa herself to either mute herself or raise up the volume or lower the volume. And as for audio sources, if you wanted to say something like Alexa turn on radio or Alexa turn on iPod, and you have like an iPod input programmed into your total control system, that you can do. That you absolutely can do. But as for controlling the volume, you would have to use the actual UI and not Alexa, because Alexa wouldn't know exactly where to send that volume command. And again, this is just the limitation that URC had to work with Amazon.
Oh, and Elvin, just to add to that a little bit, just to be clear, you could do more than turn on and turn off devices. Basically, that's just launching the macro. Those are just the words you can use. So if you wanted something to go to, you know, turn your TV on and go to ESPN, you could do turn on ESPN and it would go to that channel. So I just don't want you to think it's just about turning on and turning off devices.
Right, the turning on and turning off is just the vocal trigger. So that's essentially the button press. The macro portion is what you program into Accelerator.
Exactly.
And then the other question we have here is, will you be able to use the mobile app for intercom? No, you cannot use URC Mobile for the Doorbird intercom for the module. Doorbird has its own independent application for its system, and the Doorbird system does send push notifications whenever the button is pressed. So I guess our engineers just kind of thought it would be a little counterintuitive to include that with the URC Mobile. That could change at a later date, but as it stands, as it is released right now, it is not compatible with URC Mobile.
I think the next question is related to Alexa, or turn on volume up.
I mean, technically you could do that if you have a volume up command in a macro, but it's only going to raise it up by 1. So you would have to say, Alexa, turn on volume up, Alexa, turn on volume up, and keep on saying that until you reach the volume you wanted.
Yep, okay, I think we're good.
All right, perfect. And like I said, we do have training resources specifically for Alexa, so if you guys want to take a look at that stuff, you most certainly can, and I'm going to show you where to find that stuff.
And what you see how it's done in Accelerator, it makes more sense even.
Right, and that's where the integration guide will help you guys out a lot. So that's really all I have in terms of the presentation. So what I'm going to go ahead and show you guys is just some things for on the URC control room and on the URC University. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is where we can find all the information on the two-way modules. So as you can see here, this is the What's Hot page. So this is where you're going to find all your newsletters. So here's the Amazon Alexa newsletter that went out on the 14th, just letting people know that this was new and added to Total Control. But if we wanted to find specific information, we would select the Total Control tab and we would go into two-way modules. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and look for our module, but just to kind of show you some information here, we do have these modules that released pretty recently. So Bose and Dish Network, those were released a couple months ago as well. Just new modules, and you know we're always adding new modules onto this page here. So here's the Doorbird two-way module page, which our friend Larry Zalata sets up this here in the control room. So this is just a brief introduction as to what the actual module looks like, the integration guide looks like. But if we wanted to download the full integration guide, we could go ahead and select this right here. And this is what the integration guide looks like. So, you know, it goes over some basic information as to how this module works. And, you know, as you can see, it is only compatible with the 7600 and the 7100. And programming this is pretty simple. You know, the Alexa module and the Doorbird module, they are built into Accelerator, so you don't need to go into the control room to download anything separately. You don't need to update it with a future driver or something like that. This is going to be always constantly updated via live updates. And so you just add it the way you would normally add any other two-way module in step 4, so like an IP camera or something like that, you would add it the same way. You would select URC, you would go ahead and select two-way advanced modules, and then you would just select the category, which is Door Station, and then you would just select Doorbird. The next step in this is in step 6, where you will enter in an IP address. Now keep in mind that the IP address does not need to be the physical IP address of the Doorbird station. It just needs to be an IP address that's different from any other connected non-URC device. The thing is, the way that Accelerator works, it needs some information to be entered into here so that it can maintain stability and consistency. But the way that the Total Control System finds the Doorbird unit is via MAC address. So over here in this step here, you just need to make sure that you enter in something that's different from another device that you have here. So for example, you see that in the example here, there's 2 door stations, but they have 2 different addresses. That's really what you want to make sure of. Then the step that is really the most important part towards the integration process is step 11. So here what you'll do is enter in the username, the MAC address, and the password into this little box here once you select Doorbird. And this information is provided to you by Doorbird on what they call the digital passport. And on that digital passport, you're going to have the MAC address, the username, the password, as well as a QR code that you'll scan, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So the setup is really easy. Then you would just go ahead and accelerate the way that you normally would. And of course, after you've added the module in step 4, you want to accelerate in step 10 and in step 12. So the next thing to do after you've downloaded is you want to go ahead and go onto the TKP 7600 or the TDC 7100 and access the device's settings menu. And you want to make sure that the intercom is enabled. If the intercom is not enabled, when you download to the device, you're going to see that you're not going to see Doorbird. You're not even going to see intercom at all on the main menu. You can jump into as many rooms as you want. If it's not enabled in the device itself, you will never see the intercom settings menu. So once it's enabled, it'll look like this. So you'll see something like this as intercom, and you'll see Doorbird right underneath. And once you go ahead and select that, it's going to access the camera of your TKP 7600. And what you're going to do there is you're going to scan the QR code. So this is just an example of what the digital passport looks like. It's a sheet that comes in the box that comes with the Doorbird unit, and you want to just scan this QR code onto the TKP 7600. And once you do that, that's it. The setup process is complete, and you can start using it the way that you want to use it. And any settings that you change in the app, you can go ahead and do the same things. Anything that you can do on the iOS or Android application for Doorbird, you can do the same things in the two-way module for URC. And again, this integration guide is available for download. All you got to do is go to two-way modules, search for Doorbird, and you can download it right from here. The other integration guide that I just want to briefly show you is the one for Alexa, which I think I skipped. Where was it? Here it is. It's under system control. So Larry, he sets this up, it's just a brief introduction to what the integration guide is really going to consist of. Now this integration guide is a little bit beefier, it's almost, I think it's over 20 pages or just about 20 pages. And it goes into detail as to how you set up the Alexa module with an accelerator. Again, if you wanted to read this and then sign up for one of our courses on Alexa, you can absolutely do so. Those will be posted on the URC calendar very shortly. So this is going to go ahead and take you step by step through the process of adding it with an accelerator. So like I said, it's built into Accelerator already, so there's no need for importing any TCLs or anything like that. It's already in there. The key thing that I want to show you guys, because like I said, this class isn't designed to teach you guys how to integrate Alexa, it's just to teach you about it. But something that JR was mentioning earlier is when you actually get the chance to see it, and this is really where you see it. So this is how it looks when you're creating it. You create it with a name, and you give it the parameters, which is the most important part. So the parameters, what they do is they trigger the macro that you're going to program into it. But once you're ready to program the macro, it's like programming any other macro in Accelerator. You build the macro there, and then once the vocal cue is said, it'll go ahead and play that macro, which I believe is something that some of you guys have actually mentioned in the comments box, in the questions box. You can definitely do something like turn up volume up. You can do turn on whatever you want, as long as the macro that's associated to it, it's still going to play. It's going to play that macro. If you wanted to say, Alexa, turn on the desk, it can play a macro that you put underneath that. So the wording is really just the vocal cue. That's, like I said, it's like the vocal button press. So that's the best way to really look at it. And so this document, it's actually a 19-page document. The other important thing to keep in mind is after you've downloaded to your system, in order to really create the handshake between Amazon and URC, you need to go onto one of the user interfaces and go into the settings menu and select Amazon Voice Service. When you do that, you're going to generate some credentials, and you want to keep those credentials handy because you need to log into the Alexa browser, or you can do this from the Alexa app as well. You don't necessarily need to do this on the computer, but you just log into alexa.amazon.com. You look for the URC Smart Skill, which is in their Smart Skill store. It's similar to like an app store, but for Alexa. And then from there, you will enable the app, enable the Smart Skill, and you would enter in that name and code and granted access. And that completes the handshake between URC and Amazon, and then you can go ahead and start using those commands you programmed into Accelerator. Now there's more to it than as simple as I'm making it sound. It's not a very hard process, but I highly recommend you read through this guide so that you can get the full grasp of how to use this. And what our engineers have also done is built this URC Alexa voice service page. And to access it, you take the IP address of your primary system controller, so either your MRX10, your MRX8. You enter in the IP address, and then you follow it with the following: :51535. So an example here is 192.168.1.200 :51535, and it brings you to this page. And on this page, you can actually see all the commands that are programmed into Alexa, and you can test them from this page. So if you want to make sure that these commands are working, all you got to do is go ahead and save the command vocally and let Alexa do the rest. So again, you can download this this integration guide from right here, right from the two-way modules page under Amazon Alexa. You can always just use the search bar if you want to find it instantly. But just to show you some stuff on the URC University, the home page has the URC training calendar, which, as you can see today, you guys are on the afternoon webinar for Total Control, What's Hot, What's New. Come Monday, it's actually President's Day, so the URC office will actually be closed, but we will still be giving our webinar on MX Home Pro an introduction. So that's just an introductory course as to what MX Home Pro is. You can also see that we've got some trainings going on next week. We have a hands-on training at URC headquarters, and we also have some MX Home Pro training in a couple different cities. Again, we do offer lots and lots of discounts at our live training, so if there's ever one near you, highly recommend you go and attend it. So in terms of e-learnings, we can always search up for a specific e-learning by just typing into this questions box here, but since we've covered a general amount of products and applications, I would just say go into Course Catalog and go under Total Control Courses. From here, you would want to go ahead and go into Product, Applications, and System Design, and this presents you with a list of all the different Total Control courses that you can take. So some of the things that we spoke about today, we have the DMS in and out product overview. That's definitely one that I recommend you guys take after getting the information you've gotten today. We've got the integrating Alexa with Total Control and the integrating Doorbird with Total Control. So those are two modules that were released most recently. And if you guys want to go ahead and jump into that and get a head start, you can by all means do so. And we've got lots of other classes here that JR has designed that is just going to help you program Total Control with a little more ease and to feel a little more comfortable when you're navigating through Accelerator and maybe even using Z-Wave or any of the other products that we're able to integrate with.
Oh, and Elvin, if you go back a folder, if you go into the programming section, you'll even see more instead of product. If you go to, yeah, there you go.
So yeah, over here we can see where, as we spoke earlier, the geofencing course, the NFC course, how to configure off-site control, which is very important if you're going to be using these features because you do need off-site control in order to work these features. And here's the configuring push notifications. So that covers the other pieces of new software that we've spoken about. And if you need a little extra hand or some learning at your own pace, highly recommend these e-learnings. They go into heavy detail, and it's again at your own pace, at your own leisure, so you can do this as you see fit and as you want to. So as I did say, today's class is a little short. It's just showing you guys what we got coming out for Accelerator. That's really all we have for today. However, we have extra time to answer any questions. So if you guys want to make more questions, just please put them in the questions dialog box, and JR and myself will answer them as best as we can. Otherwise, thank you for joining us for today's class. Next, on Monday, like I said, we do have a class for programming not programming MX Home Pro, for an introductory class for MX Home Pro, to let you guys know what it is, what it can do, and what it can integrate with. And then next Friday we have a class for programming a simple system. So it's a class that you guys may have taken before, just programming an MRX8 with a TRC 820, so just pretty much making a single room solution. So just if you guys want to join up, check out the URC control room, check out the URC University, sign up for those classes. Otherwise, thank you for your continued support, and we hope to see you guys again at any of our other webinars or at any of our live trainings. Feel free to make any questions that you guys want. I'm going to have the questions dialog box open for a while. So if you have anything that just pops into your head, go ahead and ask away, and we will do what we can do. Thank you, Ross. You have a great weekend as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for taking the time to log in.
All right, guys, so I'm going to have this open till about 12:50. So if you guys have any questions within those 10 minutes, please feel free to drop them in the questions box.